Hello, my name is Juliana Leigh, and I wanted to begin with a special thank you to my mentors, Carrie and Mickey Daigle and Andrea Von Heinzen. I am filled with gratitude and joy to be hosting and introducing our guest speaker today. I was introduced to Kathrine Lee through the Juice Plus company and have been learning from her ever since. I have been taking Kathrine's Ultimate Source 2.0 coursework with a few of my closest friends. And one of the weeks, as I was listening, I knew this was the foundation for breakthrough in goal setting in business and in life. Hopefully you have the workbook pages from the ultimatesource.org/goals 2025. But if you don't, I encourage you to grab a journal for notes, as this is an interactive time with Kathrine. And I know many of you are hosting gatherings and working in groups today. Kathrine is a coach, mentor, advocate, author, speaker who has been featured in Oprah Winfrey shows multiple times, was featured in O Magazine in the commemorative issue. Out of all of the Oprah's guests over the years, Kathrine was featured as a most memorable and impactful guest. Kathrine is also a business strategist for the Global Health Initiative with the Daniel Plan by Rick Warren, Dr. Mark Hyman, and Dr. Daniel Amen. Kathrine is a PMD Plus with the Juice Plus company and a valued part of our greater healthy living community. She is virtuous, works with meaning and purpose, and teaches from an eternal perspective. She teaches with integrity and grace, and it is my delight to welcome and have Kathrine take us onto a deep dive into goal getting and the tools to thrive in 2025. Kathrine, take it away.
Oh, I'm so honored, you guys, to be with you. I see so many of my favorite people and some new people. And I know there's people having watch parties. I see, so like I can see you, Sherry Ireland, with some of you guys around the table together. How fun. So if you're having a watch party, put that in the chat too. It's so fun to know that the numbers are even beyond what we can even see here. But what I'm excited about is each one of you individually. Yes, there's a group of us on, but this is about you personally. I was thinking this morning, what do I want to really accomplish? What is my heart for this time? And it's really to stir up the desires of your heart. See, there was a time in my life, gosh, I'm dating myself. My gray hair does that these days on its own. But 30 years ago, I was just existing, not living. And it took a really tragic event to wake me up, literally wake me up to my life. I had a dear friend of mine who was 31 years old and 9 months pregnant, and she had an aortic aneurysm, and we lost her and her baby. I was 24 years old at the time, and I didn't realize how short life is and how sacred it is. And we don't just spend our time. You guys, time is the great equalizer. We all have 24 hours in the day. Nobody has any more or any less. We all have that same number of minutes, and we don't spend time, we invest it. The choices that we make, because really today could have been choice setting, right? Not goal setting, because it's how we choose to invest our time, how we choose to spend our time that really is the difference. And so we're going to go deep, and we're going to get analytical, and we're going to get creative together today. And if you're one of the people that likes to go into the chat, please, I'm going to ask you guys things. Please engage there. If that distracts you, shut the chat so you don't have to see it if you don't want to. But I love seeing your responses. So I have the chat open because this is interactive. I wish I was sitting with each one of you individually having this conversation. And I hope that's how this feels today. In fact, I chose not to put a slide deck on, not to put other things on, because I want us to feel like we're sitting in a living room together and just talking about these things and creating a plan together. So for me, the very first thing that happened when Kelly died is I got on my knees and I cried out to a God I didn't believe in. And if you don't share my faith, I totally honor where you are in that journey. It is a very personal journey. It's hard for me to separate that out. Before I would have walked out of the room if spiritual things would have been talked about. But that moment changed my life because I kind of came to the end of me and thought, I can choose life or I can choose death. Like Kelly, it was time for her to go home. But for me, I'm still alive. So what am I supposed to do with my life? I really believe that we were all designed from the beginning of time with a purpose in mind. Every single one of us has incredible gifts and talents. And if you are coming here today thinking your story is a waste, that you haven't, quote unquote, done anything with your life, I've done this work with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the last 30 years. And I've heard everything from, oh, I couldn't wait. I love goal setting. I want to get on. I love doing this. But more often I hear, I've tried before and I'm scared to goal set. Or I don't want to goal set because I might let myself or somebody else down. Or I'm down myself. I'm depressed, I'm anxious, or that person I love is depressed or anxious. I don't know if I can dream. It doesn't seem fair. I don't have it in me. And I'm just saying today, no matter where you on that spectrum, I'm ready. I can't wait. I've conquered goals before. I'm ready to conquer more. Join in. And guess what? For those of you at the opposite end of the spectrum, you already showed up. And I want to thank you for that, because that is the beginning of any goal, any desire of our heart, any intention or dream is showing up. So give yourself credit for that. Pat yourself on the back. If you're together with people, high five each other, give a thumbs up, congratulate yourself. You guys, truly, the brain loves reward. I'm going to weave in a lot of neuroscience today. Some obvious, I'm going to tell you that I'm weaving it in, but a lot of it, just trust me, I'm working with the way that your brain works. That has been a deep interest of mine for the past 30 years, because I was amazed that somebody who was down and depressed, who my health was a wreck, everything in my life, I had nobody that was healthy in my life, nobody that knew how to cheerlead or coach me. I did not have supportive people in my life at that time. I had friends, but they weren't the friends that were going to take me to the life I now have. And I remember when I got on my knees and cried out to a God I didn't even believe anymore, two words went through my heart, mind, and soul. I don't know how to describe it. I didn't hear it audibly, but I heard pure hope. And I realized at that moment, that's what my name means. Kathrine means pure, and my middle name, Nadine, means hope. I had forgotten that. I had forgotten my identity. I had forgotten that there was something about my name that I was supposed to rise up and meet and complete. And what's interesting is I knew that that was a title to something, but more than anything, and I want you to feel this with me, more than anything, I felt seen in that moment. And you are seen right now. You showed up and you are seen. You are valuable and you belong. And from that place, if you can believe it for a minute or you already know it, that's where I want to begin to talk to you about our topic today. Because the very first thing we're going to talk about was the first thing following those words, pure hope, was a seed of desire got planted in my heart. And I believe it was God's desire for my life, but I didn't know him well then. I knew religion wasn't about that, but I wanted a relationship with the designer of my life. You know, I always say now I'm a couture, right? A couture means an original, and so are you. You are a one of a kind, and there is a design for your life. So my first question, and again, if you have the handouts, I did put in the chat the link to where you can get the handouts if you don't have them. Even if you just want to look at them and print them later, grab a piece of paper, because we are going to be writing today. Trust me, you want to write. It has a greater impact on your brain in the way that you will respond to this, both creativity and order. God is a God of creativity and order, and our brains work the best when we bring creativity and order together. And even writing something out is a form of creativity. It's an original part of who you are, is your handwriting. Just like your fingerprint is original to you, when we write something, it is beautiful and we own it. And owning some of these things will make a huge difference to whether or not you'll actually then create it and experience it. So my first question, I'll hold these up every once in a while. This is the first page in case you've gotten them. And it talks about the 12 life areas because we're only taking a small segment of goals and organization today and a small segment of movement and momentum. So we're just pulling some of the worksheets out of that. But these 12 life areas, you guys, are where we go when we're facing hard things and obstacles. In fact, if you've ever set a goal and hit an obstacle, put a 1 in the chat if you're a chat person. If you've ever set a goal and hit an obstacle, put a 1 in the chat. I expect it to blow up. Yep, there it goes. There isn't a person alive that has set a goal and hasn't hit an obstacle. It is part of the process. I need you to hear that. It is part of the process to hit an obstacle. So when you hit it, you go, I'm in process. When you hit procrastination, by the way, part of the process. When our brain creates and goes for activity, it wants to hesitate. So when you feel that urge to procrastinate, go, oh, I'm in process. And it's us choosing this part. If you're somebody who likes to participate, go like this, you'll remember it more. This is the power we have right here. This is our frontal lobe of our brain. This is the seat of choice. And we get to choose to step anyway. And where do we step into these 12 life areas? We choose to step into spirituality and faith and be curious and wonder and ask God, are you real like I did? I said, if you're real, please prove it. What am I supposed to do with this? God can handle our curiosity, our questions, and our anger. And I had all of it at that time, right? You step into relationships and connecting. You're all doing that today because we came together to do this. You step into having a growth mindset and being grateful for things rather than a fixed mindset and being where we only look at what's gone wrong in our life. If we will look at whatever is good and true and noble and noteworthy, it's everywhere. And we can do that. We step into, and you're all doing it today. Give yourself points, curiosity and learning. You're here. What are we going to do today? And what's inside of me? Our nutrition and water. This is sponsored by the Juice Plus community. Thank you, Juliana, for inviting me. Our brain needs great nutrition, and there's nothing else out there like this, not more scientifically proven, more foundational than these products. And when we have our nutrition right, we can think right. Our brain needs that. So if we're feeling some of those obstacles, you start to look at these life areas. I won't go through every one of them, but I am going to touch on rest and relaxation because I'm going to all have you do this with me right now. Breathe in through your nose. You're going to hold, and then you're going to breathe out through your mouth twice as long. Okay, that's one of the power choices that you can make is when you're feeling overwhelmed is to breathe. Okay, so everybody together, this is interactive. It's a workshop today. So everybody breathe in through your nose for as long as you can. Then we're going to hold, and then you're going to breathe out twice as long. Here we go. Ready? Hold. Now blow out for as long as you can. Do it again. In through your nose, hold. Now blow out. Twice as long if you can. 3 is key for your biology. So let's do it one more time. In through your nose and hold. Hold, and then breathe out twice as long. Now, how many of you, when you breathed in, did you bring your belly in? Put a 2 in the chat if when you breathed in through your nose, you brought your belly in. If you did that, and I'm not trying to say I just want you to be aware that's not true breathing. When we breathe in through our nose or breathe in at all, our belly should go out. It's our diaphragm. It's like we're inflating a balloon there. You want your belly to go out, but we're always like, where are the Spanx? Suck in your belly, and we shallow breathe all the time, which creates a state of fight and flight all the time because we're lacking oxygen. So one of the biggest goals you can have for yourself is to learn to be conscious of your breath. Because honestly, we were given the seat of choice, but the first gift we were given was breath. So we have our frontal lobe to choose, that's a gift, but the first thing we get is breath. when we cross from our mother's womb into this world, that moment of taking that breath, when what are they looking for? A cry. And so if you ever look at a puppy and babies, they know how to belly breathe. They'll teach you how to do that. So again, what do we do when we face obstacles? Because we all have. Every one of us has faced obstacles. We go to the life areas because we're always going to face challenges. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we always have access to life. And when we know that, and we know how to go to these life areas and the keys to them, we can access better and then create the desires of our heart. So that is the first question on this page, right there with the life areas, because they are the way to your desires of your heart. But first you have to know, what is the desire of your heart? So that is the first question. What is the desire of your heart? That's bigger than a goal. You guys, this is the sole part of, what do I really want in life? When life is done here, what do I want said about me? What regrets I don't want to have these regrets. I want this said about me when I leave. It's called having an eternal life lens. It's a limited time here. Eternally, what's going to live beyond me? What am I going to pass on? What is my legacy? What is the desire of your heart? One of the ways we can know that is to look at our longings when we look at somebody else's life. I don't believe in jealousy. If anybody knows me, I don't like gossip. I don't like jealousy. Everything in me is all about uniting the voices of women again, that will stop comparing and competing and will start completing the work that only the united voices of women can do together. Men, you too. I want you to be heroes and lock shields and go into good battle in life for good things. But we need to be able to have our voice and open our heart. Who, when you look at their life, do you have a longing? Like, I love the way they live their life. It might look like jealousy, but jealousy is just longing turned against that person. We don't need to take anything away from that person to receive what is for us. But the longing of your heart is a key to the desire of your heart. It's a gateway into it. So sometimes that's how you know it. Sometimes it's, by the time I'm gone, I want to make sure I've done this, seen this, experienced this, had this. What is the desire of your heart? When I first got on my knees and I had that moment and I got up, what I realized was, life is short, it's fleeting. I want to live, and I want my children to see me live. I want to be radiant and vibrant. I want to know who I am. Oh, I don't know, something just came up with standard. Do you guys see that? Is it just me? Do you see me? Okay, good. It's back. Okay, good. Mindy, I can see you. So you're going to be my key person to give me clues when this happens. What's key for all of us is that longing of our hearts. What is the desire of your heart? What do you want to live beyond you? What don't you want to regret? I wanted to be able to have my kids, because that was my only view at that time. They were newborn in 2 at this time of my life. And I wanted to be able to live fully alive every day. And I knew that wasn't going to be easy, but I was willing to fight for it. Somebody said to me the other day that came here to Pure Hope Ranch, because I now have not just those kids, I had another daughter, and I have my whole Juice Plus team, and I feel like our team and our kids are the next generation of that moment. And I feel like that anything that I do in our strengthening families work and my personal development work, that I hope and have seen it go to the next generation. But we also now have an incredible Pure Hope Foundation and a place called Pure Hope Ranch, where we help young women that have been rescued. I don't like that word, because they're actually courageous. They are not victims, but that's the only word that most people can relate to. They've been pulled out of trafficking or were courageous enough to leave, and we help them find their life. And there was a woman at the ranch at an event that she came to, and she left and then wrote me a card, and she said, what I noticed about you and the team and life there was you live in fluid freedom. I thought, wow. And she gave me this beautiful horse. A running horse was the symbol of that. And I didn't have the words for that in my life, but boy, is that the way I want to live and what I want to model. That I can live, yes, fighting for things that matter, but also in fluid freedom, knowing that the answers will be there. I can get the education or the skills and tools, and I can make an impact that will last. I don't need my name to be remembered, but I do want to have influence on people's lives so that they have fruit and joy and resilience and freedom in their own lives. My Juice Plus business first brought me that. Now the work that I get to do with these young women brings me that. And so many of you have invested in their lives. And I want to take that life area of gratitude to thank you for that right now, because that brings me life to keep going on the days that are really hard here, as does all of my Juice Plus community, cheering us on and investing in what we do. So what about you? I'm literally going to give you 60 seconds. And if you're with a group, and I know some of you are extrovert processors and you're going to want to talk about it, but don't, in case there's an introvert processor in the room. Some of you guys, it's okay. This answer may come tomorrow or next week because you're a processor and it takes you a minute. That does not mean it's bad or you're slow or any of that. It's just, it's got to percolate until it rises up. But we're planting the seed of desire in our hearts, minds, and souls when we sit for a minute, literally 60 seconds, and ask God to give you a vision or a picture and or words. What is the desire of your heart? 60 seconds, go. Okay, some of you may still be writing. It's okay if nothing came out yet, but I wonder how many of you too, if you'll create an image, what would, if something came out, or maybe you couldn't put it to words, but there is a picture, but what does that picture look like? Just like that woman gave me the horse running for fluid freedom. If you could put a picture to what that life looks like. So the next question is, what would your life look like? It can be represented in just a symbol, an animal. It could be a visual landscape. It could be something very specific. And how would you feel if that became a reality? Close your eyes if you need to for a minute and just see, do I see an image? Do I see a picture of what that would represent? And how does that make me feel? I'm gonna give you about 30 seconds. Go. Obviously, you've probably seen the next question. In the past, sometimes when I do this, people come up with something completely new and they're kind of shocked by it. But often it's something they've always had there, even if it was when they were young and they've tried and quote unquote failed. There's no such thing as failure. I want you, if you have that word in your vocabulary, I want you to cross it out in your mind. see the word failure, cross it out and put the word teacher there. Failure is simply a teacher. What went wrong? Right? What would I do differently next time and who can help me? We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I'm going to give it to you now because I know that's often what stands in people's ways as I've tried before and they then say I failed. You just reframe that. I experienced a failure that became a teacher. And it becomes a teacher by saying, what went wrong? What would I do differently next time? And who can support me or help me? That's how you turn failure into a teacher. Because often we don't know necessarily the answer to the first two questions. But if we have somebody that can support or help us and talk through it with us and get some wisdom and reflection, that failure absolutely becomes a teacher. So what tends to get in your way? In the past, it may not even be the same thing you just wrote down, but think of if you've ever set a goal in the past, what gets in your way? I'm going to give you about 20 to 30 seconds to list or think about that. Ready? Go. Okay, and then the last question is think right now, if you face that obstacle again, what will you do? The 12 life areas could be a hint to that. You don't have to take the whole course to realize that you could set a new goal, you could get help. The 12 life areas may be a hint to what you could do, but just think, what would you do and what will you do if that obstacle shows up again? And give you about 10, 15 seconds to think about that and jot down your thoughts. Okay, so the next page I want you guys to open up. I'm already seeing some of the things in there. I see lack of vision from a spouse, sometimes finances, sometimes unbelief in ourselves, busyness, fear, doubt, procrastination. I also saw lots of beautiful things that you guys were seeing. And isn't it interesting when we think of our obstacles, do you feel your energy go down? Like we can literally be like, oh, yes, I love that. And then we just think about the obstacle and we can feel it in our body. Our energy starts to leave. This is what I want you to know. If you go to the next handout, it says the Ultimate Source Challenge areas. Again, this is after me working with thousands of people. I saw that most everything fell into these 6 categories for people. And I'm not going to do this as I do as intensely as I do in the course, but I want you to see them because typically these are the things that get in our way. I usually tell people to rate 1 to 6, which is the one that's, the most would be a 1. Your 6 would be you don't deal with it as much. But like, what's the number one thing that tends to come at you or you tend to go with when a block comes in the way? Most of us face some sort of fear. But sometimes it's excitement and we think it's fear, so then we start to chase the fear instead of the excitement. Procrastination. Anybody? Put a 4 in the chat if you're a procrastinator. Procrastination is tied to perfectionism, you guys. You don't have to do it perfectly to do it. Tell yourself that. Yeah, procrastination is a huge one, and usually for very highly capable people. I don't want to fail, so I'm not even going to try. I can't do it perfectly, so I'm not going to do it at all. Get rid of that today. If you could make a symbol out of procrastination, what would it look like to you? If it's an animal or a sign or a visual, what does it look like? And you're getting rid of that. You're tossing it out today. You're wiping the image away. You're painting over it. You're erasing it. You do not have to do it perfectly. I've never known one person, and I've had the privilege of working with some of the most successful people in the world in almost all industries. And they fail, they don't do things perfectly. Version 1, version 2, we know that because our phones, right? There's constant updates. Nothing is perfect. It's progress. And all progress teaches us something, and then we make refinements. So rather than procrastination, become a refiner. I'm not a procrastinator, I'm a refiner. I do something and then I refine it. I do and I refine it. I reflect and refine. That is the power. Negative self-talk. Anybody ever talk bad about themselves? You say things to yourself you would never say to anyone else. That's so deeply based in identity. And I wish I had time to teach. I could teach 3 hours just on that. But what I want to tell you is you are loved, you belong, you have a purpose for your life, and nothing is wasted up until this moment. God has used literally the ugliest things in my life have become assets to me now because I have empathy, I have relatability, I have strength and courage and power and resilience and stories and testimonies of overcoming. And some things I'm still working on. I am not perfect. There is not one of us is perfect. And so you keep moving and refining, but then you have a reservoir that you can pull from. And God will work all things for good to have you know even the hardest thing in your life can become one of your superpowers and one of the things that makes the greatest difference in the world. Of course, toxic people, we all have people that speak negatively or spoke negatively into our lives, and we have to get rid of those messages. And we can choose to say, I choose not to believe that anymore. And we can crowd it out, meaning we replace those people with people that speak life instead of death, people that speak encouragement instead of discouragement. You build a new community. And let me tell you, if you're a guest today with the Juice Plus community, if nothing else, you want to be a part of this because of the powerful and positive people in this. Community is so powerful, but it's got to be healthy community. There's negative peer pressure and positive peer pressure. We want people that speak life. So we crowd them out with positive people, and we begin to have healthy relationships in that life area. And we connect with things that are healthy. And then toxic distractions, we all go to it. Put in the chat, what's your toxic distraction? Some of you may not want to admit some of them that I'm going to mention here. I'm not even asking you to, but that can be anything from over shopping, overspending, sugar. It could be binging on TV shows, not enjoying entertainment. That's fine. Having something that you indulge in that is indulgent and beautiful to your taste buds, that's wonderful. That's the life area of balance and fulfillment and living through your senses. I'm talking, I need to numb out. I need to cut things off. Some people do it by gossiping. Some people do it through pornography. Some people do it through overworking and overserving. It's anything. I always say it's like a boomerang, right? We throw our stress away, but it comes back and hits us, right? A boomerang, you throw it and it comes back. And before you know it, the bill comes in. The shame comes in. The sugar, it's called a dopamine trough. You go into a dopamine trough, you get the hit of dopamine, but then you're lower than you even were at baseline when you went to get it. That's a toxic distraction. Okay. Those things ultimately bring a hit, but they don't bring life. And we get to, through the 12 life areas and through having a goal and a purpose and going after the desires of our heart, we'll get rid of that. It'll get rid of us going to toxic distractions that steal from us. The more we have the vision ready that we're going to build together today, the more we're going to go, wait, I'm not wasting that Cheeto or that shopping for that or that thing. I'm not letting that rob from the life that I'm building. We get to begin to speak life to ourselves and not even be a toxic person to ourselves. So in these 6 challenge areas. This is what I want to challenge you with today, because there's good challenges and bad challenges. These are the bad challenges, but if we can take these bad challenges and turn them into an indicator light, just like on your car, when the oil light comes on or the gas light comes on, that's telling you something. That's what these 6 challenge areas do. They tell us something is out of balance or going in the wrong direction. So let that be an indicator like, oh, there's stress, there's fear, there's toxic distraction. Oh, I'm talking negative self-talk about myself. Oh, that means indicator light, I need to fill up with life areas. When you use the challenge areas, because they're not going away, we all face these things at some time, at some volume, at some level every day. Some of these things come in. Sometimes people bring them into our lives. Sometimes we create them. Sometimes they're just life. But when we use these as an indicator life to turn to life, you start getting traction and building momentum to build the abundant life we were all designed to live. So with that being said, we're going to go to the next handout. This is what it looks like. It's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what this talks about, I would, if I was designing this, have a little bit different words, but I want to give credit to where credit is due and give you the original. But what this talks about is all of us have basic human needs, and you can go to almost any culture in the world and you will see this to be true. The first one is we have physiological needs, right? At the very least, we don't want to be hungry, thirsty, exhausted, freezing, overheated, sick, or in pain. If any of those things are happening, we're in survival mode. So getting safe first, that's one of my favorite things about Pure Hope Foundation and our Hope Homes here is it is a literal sanctuary of that safety. Those needs are met. And we are so fortunate, you guys, if those needs are met in your life, we are a small percentage of the population on this planet. And I want you to go to the life area of gratitude and attitude for a minute and be grateful. And if you're a faith person, thank God for it. I have food, I have shelter, I have water, I have heat, I have air. I can breathe because I know I'm safe and secure. And when we first served the young women we served, they've been so unsafe for so many years. They don't even, safety feels unsafe. But we get the privilege of teaching and training to put your feet where you're planted. The beauty of learning how to receive. We all put a 5 in the chat if you have a hard time receiving. Like when good things come to you, you almost push them away. You feel uncomfortable with attention or blessings or compliments or anything. All of us have had challenges in receiving, but we are meant to receive not just our basic needs, but then the next thing, that safety is that we feel okay in this exact moment, not just planting your feet, be present where you are, but we're going to go all the way up further to, I'm going to put roots down here. So I want to feel safe. I'm confident that I can avoid pain, hunger, and the dangers in the immediate future. That's safety. The next one is social. We feel safe when our social needs for loving and belonging come into play. We feel secure when we're part of a tribe that we can trust and are unworried about rejection and alienation. Now, I've never known anybody that doesn't have imposter syndrome, meaning we even reject ourselves sometimes. We think we're not worth it or worthy. That's just a human condition that we have to go, oh, there it is, negative self-talk, right? I need to turn my energy to the life area and look in the mirror and say all these good things about myself, or go to friends, life area of relationship, and speak, let them speak life over me. But ultimately, having a tribe where we find we're safe and secure is not only am I safe and secure from the elements, but I am safe and secure with people. That takes a long time for those of us that have had abandonment issues or betrayal in our lives. I can speak very, very clearly about you can overcome that because I live that. And I have some of the most phenomenal friendships that you could ever imagine, and the safest people you could ever imagine, and people that not only are there for me, but fight with me for the things of justice and good in this world. And you know who you are, and I thank you for your friendship. Then, you guys, when we know that we fit in, we're safe and we fit in, we can start to stand out. Stand out is self-esteem, right? We get to know that we do have a voice. We get to know that we can say yes to things we like. We can say no to things we don't. Our voice matters. And we have something to say in this world. That is being secure in our social needs, but also that primal desire. All of us want to be seen, and all of us want to know that we have what it takes. Women more than men in general want to know that they're seen. Men more in general want to know, do I have what it takes? But we both want to say, I matter and I have something of value to carry. And when those other needs are met, we start to stand out and believe that maybe we're special and we matter. We want to be admired and respected. All you have to do is look at a little girl and she's spinning around going, look at me, look at me, look at this dress, look at this outfit, look at the me, look at me, look at me. Or that little boy that's like puts on a little tool belt. I'm just thinking literally of my nieces and great nieces and nephews and my own kids as they were kids, right? I feel secure enough to stand out. I want you to see me and I want you to tell me I've got what it takes. All of us have the ability and the desire and the need for this. This isn't self-indulgent or us saying that I need to be the center of attention. It's just I matter. I matter. And then finally, they call it self-actualization in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But this is once our core needs are met, we are ready to pursue our deepest desire for, they call self-actualization, to become the most complete and authentic version of ourselves. With the fundamentals taken care of, we are free to act as we choose, aligned with our values and our higher purpose. I love that. So I would call this stepping into your design. To live confidently, and I call it God confidence, right? I can fully shine because that's a reflection of the very one that made me by design. That is such a beautiful thing. And when you do that, you guys, you put light into everybody else's life around you. So this is what I want to ask you. Here on this sheet, I have needs, desire, legacy. So the first thing is your needs. What are your basic needs and are they met? And if not, what are basic needs? If they're met, write a little note of gratitude here. If they're not met, acknowledge your need. I'm going to give you 60 seconds and I want you to focus. Be grateful for the needs that are met. And if a need is not met, just put the prayer or the intention out there that I am open to receiving my basic needs. 60 seconds, go. Okay, the next one, I know keep writing if you're still writing, but I want to go into desire. Desire, there's healthy desire and unhealthy desire. And again, I don't have time today to teach it all, but I want you to get this piece. Unhealthy desire is tied to identity. And what I mean by that is I want so that I'll be. I want this much money in the bank. I want this number on the scale. I want to be with that in group. I want those clothes, that house, that community, so that I'll finally have arrived. I'll be accepted. I want so that I'll be. That's unhealthy desire, you guys, because the mark always gets moved. There's always a bigger house, somebody that's richer, somebody else that's the it girl, somebody else that has more, knows more, does more. They come out with the next thing. We will chase the wind if we are chasing that kind of desire. It is unhealthy desire when it's tied to your identity, because you are already beautiful. You already belong, because God created you from the beginning of time for it to be here right now. And I know it doesn't always feel that way. I have days where I doubt that myself, you guys, but then I tell myself the truth. Then I am a walking miracle. The way my eyes see and ears hear and mouth speaks and legs move, I am a walking miracle. And anybody that has ever had one of those things robbed from them, or God designed them differently, they know the pain of it, but they also get it made up in another area. So somebody who's blind may have more ability to hear. And I always think of Helen Keller here. She couldn't see, speak, or hear, but she made a radical impact on this world because of her limitations. So healthy desires are not about making up for limitations. Healthy desires are just things we want because they're part of who we are. And you don't know why, but this is what I want to tell you. If you have a healthy desire, it's not tied to identity. That's all you need to say. Do I want that because that's going to make me accepted or successful? Then you want to look at, is that tied to your identity? But a healthy desire, when you just say what it is and you just go, that's interesting. I have found this to be true. And I want you to jot this down. My healthy desires are a hint, asset, or stepping stone to my legacy. My healthy desires are a hint, asset, or stepping stone to my legacy. So I'm going to give you an example. We have to say, if you're a chat person, put a 6 in the chat. If you will not judge me, this has to be a no judgment zone, because sometimes our healthy desires, people are like, well, that's shallow. You don't understand why you want something, you don't get it, but it isn't to fit in or stand out. It isn't anything except that it's there. Why is it there? I don't know, but I really love it. So for me, okay, I see some 6s, so I know I'm accepted here. It was flying first class on an airplane. I don't always fly first class. You could beat a third world country for the original price of that, but I will upgrade or add points in to upgrade every chance I get. Why? I didn't know. I just flew it once and was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And then I realized I'm an introvert. I love people. Introverts don't not love people, by the way. People are my life's work. But I need to be alone to recharge. And in first class, they spray a mist in first class that tells everybody not to talk to each other. That's not true, but there really is an unspoken rule. You don't talk in first class. And people put on headphones, or they have a laptop, or they're reading a book. Everybody postures, don't talk to me, which means it's quiet and I can recharge. Because usually when I fly, I'm flying to an audience and I love it, but it drains me. It's like a cell phone battery. I still have capacity, but my battery's kind of being drained. But I also need to be alone so that I can have capacity and energy, battery and capacity when I get home to my favorite audience, which is my family. They're my first ministry. So I have to have quiet to recharge. Well, I don't have time to tell you the whole story, but that is an asset to my legacy. It gives me energy to pour into the people that I love. I didn't realize that. It was just a desire. I really enjoyed flying first class. And it wasn't so people would get on the plane and go, oh, who is she sitting in first class? Or me sitting there going, I'm better than everybody because I'm in first class. That's unhealthy desire because it's tied to identity. Do you see me? Had nothing to do with that. It's just I wanted it. I started realizing, wow, this really helps me recharge, which then I can pour into my family, which is my most important legacy, and I can pour into those that I serve. That's legacy. If I love someone well, if I listen well, if when given permission and or wisdom, I speak into their life, that's legacy. And I have to be alone to recharge to have that to do. But then, and if you don't know this story, you got to ask somebody that invited you that maybe knows me. But I met a man on the plane after years and years of that pure hope. Remember when I said that? I always knew it was something tangible. I didn't know what it was or what it was for years and years and years and years. But I kept moving, going, is this pure hope? Is, oh, nope, that's not pure hope. Is this pure hope? And then I had an encounter with a man on the plane where in first class. Had I been in coach that day, because I do fly coach more often than first class, I wouldn't have met him. It was a stepping stone to my legacy to live in that desire for that moment. And yours is too. I know people that they have a desire to have a beautiful home. Sandy Leonard, who I saw on earlier, just hosted some of the young women that we serve at her beautiful home while they went to a conference in Atlanta, because we try to redefine travel for them as something good, because travel has been so tragic for them. And when she said she wanted to host in her home, and my friend Sharon McClellan is who provided the conference for them, I didn't ask, they just showed up with it, but they had the resources and connections. And Sandy had the home to host our team and those young women. But her gift is hospitality. And I'm telling you, she had legacy in me, and there were legacy stories that came out. Even though there were moments that were hard, because redefining something and taking new territory is hard, you guys. But let me tell you something, if those young women can do it, so can you. Take your territory. Believe, and it's okay to have your healthy desires, because then you'll have legacy. And what is legacy? It's what lasts beyond you. That's it. I don't know what that is, but my grandmother worked from home. She never had a job outside of the home. She would have said, I'm quote unquote just a mom, just a grandmother. That woman was a woman of faith, and the way she loved me is why I am the woman. I believe with all my heart, it was her prayers that created the unknown, right? She brought in something, and the power of prayer to put the pathway to the life I'm leading now. And she never even saw that while she was alive, but her legacy lived on. So it doesn't have to be something big and grand. You don't have to sell your house. And, we sold our home in Southern California to go out in faith and find land where God would have us do this ministry of Pure Hope Foundation. After that encounter with the man on the plane, I discovered what that was for, and it had to do with the issue of pornography tying to this issue of trafficking. And that was my legacy. That's what God's called. And God has called many of you to be brave enough to share Juice Plus with somebody, and then you give a portion of that to our work. That's your territory that you're taking and pouring in and investing in our territory. That is legacy too. I couldn't do it without your donations. My Juice Plus business funds my work at Pure Hope Foundation. I don't have to take a salary. So that means more money goes to direct care. I don't have to take a salary because of me being brave at different times in my Juice Plus business. That courage led to this legacy, and so can yours. So I want to ask you a question. If time and money and you were not an issue, if time, meaning you're not too old, you're not too young, it's not too late, it's not too early, time is not an issue, you have all the resources in the world, so money is not an issue, and you are confident and brave. If time and money and you were not an issue, what person, cause, or people group would you pour into? What person? For me, at one point in my life, it was my grandmother. Her greatest fear was to be in one of those homes and die in one of those homes. So my Juice Plus business funded me to get a better place and care for her, because she also didn't want to be a burden to her family. And for one period of my life, she was with these resources. That's what I want to pour into, is one person. It is about the one. Maybe one at a time, but it's the one. So what person, cause, or people group would you pour into? And if you guys would put in the chat, I love seeing these. That's part of your legacy. We don't just make money to consume. That runs out. We don't make money just to have success or to have people see us. That runs out. Service is what lasts. Living beyond ourselves on behalf of someone else is what lasts and brings deep satisfaction and brings legacy. So I'm seeing all sorts of stuff. My children and grandchildren, breast cancer patients, something in Tanzania, women's hormonal health, kids on the spectrum, substance abuse, parents and the elderly, widows. Let's look at all of that beauty there. Don't you want to fund that? I always say when I first started my Juice Plus business, I just wanted to make $300 to $500 a month to be home with my kids. They were my legacy and they still are. Yet this business grew. And my team in particular, I want to thank you for your loyalty and your work, because that then grew. And as we reciprocally bless each other, my blessings grew and I've been able to bless other people. So it went from $300 to $500 a month to more resources. And I kept saying, okay, God, you did this. What do you want us to do with it? And my husband, God, you did this. What do you want us to do with this? And when the call came, we were ready because we had been courageous in the small. We had been faithful in the small, and we were able to be courageous again, but only, honestly, I can't not say this, only because of the Spirit of God going before us, and because of the grace we had received. We knew we had lots of grace to give to others. So what I see around this, you guys, is if you knew my past, you would understand that God took pain of my past and turned it into purpose in the work that we do now at Pure Hope Foundation. So how many of you, put a 7 in the chat, if your person, cause, or people group was because of pain in your life or somebody else's life, you're drawn to that issue because you have received that pain, or you've seen pain in that issue personally. Always 7777777. Why? Because God takes pain and turns it into purpose. And then it leaves a legacy. But we've got to believe in the small and do the small. And the small adds up to the big, you guys. That's the power of this. So with that being said, we're going to transition for a minute, but I want to answer. I can't read every comment and every question, but I saw somebody ask this question. It was an excellent question. What do you do with the lines on this page? On the challenges, there's a couple things you can do with it. One is, how does fear show up for you? How does negative talk show up for you? When you identify it, you can come against it. So how does it show up? What does it look like, sound like, feel like? And then what life area can come against it? Okay, so that's one way you can use this. Sometimes people track it, and again, this is all in the course, but you track it, how does it show up in a day? How do I replace it? There's all sorts of ways, but that's what I would suggest for what we're doing here today. How does it show up? What does it look like, sound like, feel like? And what life area can you come against it? Okay, everybody, we're going to do a deep breath. Again, so we can keep going. Okay, this next sheet, it says list for the year. Okay, it's just a sheet, says list for the year. And on this sheet, we're just going to start this today, but I want you to keep doing it. But I'm just going to read this to you. Setting intentions in concrete, realistic, and achievable goals increases the likelihood of success and boosts happiness. You get those positive dopamine hits. Your list can include big and small goals, enjoyable activities, challenges, or even fun, whimsical experiences. There's no right or wrong way to create this list. Do what works best for you. You can organize it by category, focus on a common theme, or simply include things that bring you joy and energy. There's no wrong way to do this. You perfectionists out there right now, you're a recovering perfectionist. I bet there's some of you that aren't writing on the sheet because you don't want to mess up the sheet. Right? You're writing on a set. I see some of you laughing and nodding. You guys are going to have access on that webpage to this forever. We're going to hopefully get the recording from Carrie and put it on there. Write on the sheet. It's okay. There's no wrong way. Practice the process. Practice the process of dreaming, committing, just having an intention. Just write down just in the next year. We're gathering again together next year. What are some things that you want to experience and do and complete and go? What is that for you? I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Ready? Just write it down. There's no wrong way. Just see what comes out. Okay. You guys keep this list going. Put it somewhere in front of you. If you're in a group, write down and share with each other because you'll inspire each other. I see some people putting some things in the chat. Marianne, girl, you go on that long delayed Alaskan cruise. You're inspiring me. That's one thing I'd say I'm not a huge travel person, but I would love to go to Africa. I would love to go to Israel. And now I want to go on a long delayed, not long delayed, but the Alaskan cruise. So what is it for you? Don't judge it. Don't try to figure out how it's going to happen. Just write the things down. Write them down and begin to believe and begin to trust that doors will open. You've planted a seed in your brain of possibility. You don't have to figure it all out. Some of it is going to happen with ease you never even expected, and others you're going to work. You're going to make a pathway to it. And that's not a bad thing. Work is not bad. We were made to work 6 days and rest one. Work is part of our original design. It's a beautiful thing. We get deep satisfaction out of good work. And so I'm so excited, you guys, that this happens all the time where I then go and you guys are on another event or you become a part of, the Ultimate Source or whatever it is. And then I hear back 3 months, 6 months, a week, and they're like, it happened. I wasn't expecting, and then this happened and that happened. And then somebody said this, and you're programming your brain for things to happen by doing this. It's so exciting because I can't wait to hear your stories. You don't have to figure it all out, but some things we're going to commit to. So let's keep going. I want to take you through very quickly the stages of change. Okay, so just know I put a lot of the notes there that normally I don't because I can't go through this all in its entirety today, but I want you to have the reference point to it because if you don't realize this, you won't be able to do something about it if you're in a stage and you may be trying to do something you're not quite ready for. So stages of change just pays attention to your readiness to be willing to make some changes so that you can get some of those things on your list. So on this sheet, these are the stages of change. The first is pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation means you have no intention of changing this behavior. You know it because you're deaf to the topic, you're defensive, you're defiant, or you're in denial, meaning it doesn't even come up right now. You can't think of it because you don't even realize you need to change. But if you do, quote unquote, need to change, you're not ready because you don't want to change yet. So when it comes up, if somebody brings it up or you get faced with it, you get where you're defiant, you get defensive, or you're deaf to the topic or say, I don't need to change. And that's okay. That just means you're not ready or you don't want to. But pay attention to things you're pushing back on because maybe that's the very place that will open up your dreams. If you'd be willing to not be defensive or defiant about it and willing to listen instead of being deaf when people talk about it. The next area is contemplation. This is where the problem exists, but there's no commitment to action. This is what I say is the most painful stage. It's the yeah, but stage. Yeah, I know I should change, but, and the list of reasons and excuses comes. Should equals shame. If this is the most painful place to be because you quote unquote should change, but you look at the reasons and excuses instead. So how do you get out of this stage? You either make peace with yourself. I'm not ready to change. I see it. I'm not ready. I'm at peace with myself. That way shame can't come in. Peace and shame don't reside in the same place in our heart, mind, soul. So just give yourself the grace. You're not ready yet. But what you can do is look at the excuses and say, I'm done with those. They're not serving me anymore. Now, instead of I should change, I say, I want to change. And if you're not quite ready to want to, say, I want to want to. I want to change. Should is a low energy word. It brings shame. But if you say, I want to change, I want to change. And I'm getting rid of the excuses. Those are just made up obstacles. I rip it up. I'm done with it. And some of you may want to write those out and literally physically rip it up and be done with it. But the other part is those real reasons. They're real obstacles that stand in the way. I get that too. I had a knee injury for almost 7 years that nobody could figure out what it was. It ended up being a lymphatic block behind my knee. Nobody, I went to every specialist in the world. It's a long story, but it was a miraculous one encounter, one moment changed my life because some people were praying, and she unblocked it, and I have gotten my life back. I've gotten my health back. It was crazy, but that served a purpose in my life too. I can look back at that pain and that unknown and that struggle, and I can see how powerful I became despite my pain, how I stayed in loving myself despite my health getting derailed. God has a purpose always for pain, and it doesn't always come in our time. But if we will surrender and say, I want to change, I'm ready to get rid of excuses, and I will face the reasons, and I'll keep trying. And what life area do you go to here? You go to the life area of relationships and connecting. Don't do it alone. Don't do it alone, because then you'll go into preparation. And when you have preparation in your life, you have everything. Preparation is I'm intent upon taking action. I'm creating a plan, which we're going to do in the balance of our time. You get rid of excuses. You make a plan to overcome those obstacles. When that shows up, I'm going to do this. And you continue to practice the process. And sometimes you take action, which action is just you're simply modifying the behavior. You're completing calendared actions. I'm committing to this, I'm doing it, I'm following through. And then eventually you do that enough, you're in maintenance, which means it's second nature to you to do that thing. It's become a habit, and it actually then becomes who you are. It's not just a habit, it goes beyond a habit to being who you are. I am the person that gets up and works out. I am the person that eats foods that build me up rather than tears me down 90% or 80% of the time. I am the person that is brave enough to make a follow-up call. I am the person that will invest into my dreams. That's maintenance, but most maintenance comes by a bunch of setbacks. They call them relapse in the addiction world, but I like to call it a setback. A setback is just a setup for a comeback. If you will step back and ask those failure questions. Anybody remember what they are? When failure comes, how do you make it a teacher? You say, what went wrong? What would I do differently next time? And who can support me? That's how a relapse, scratch out that word, low energy word. Nobody likes a relapse. It's just a setback that's setting you up for a comeback. That's what, and then you go right back to preparation. What's my new plan? How can I move forward? Who can help me? Who can cheerlead? Who can coach? Now I'm back into action. And the quicker you do that, the quicker you learn to do that, the quicker you'll get to the greater part of you. Now, I put a little chart here that is when we commit to action, it's amazing, you guys, what your percent of chance of completion is if you'll add these things. So the first thing is just hear the idea. You all just heard ideas. You all just heard how to do this. We're going to make a plan to move in it. But then you have to consciously decide to adopt the idea. I choose, frontal lobe of your brain, I choose that I'm calendaring this to take that action. I'm choosing it. That's all that is. It's a conscious decision. Now you've gone from a 10 to a 25% chance of completing that action. But if you decide when you're going to act, meaning you put it on your calendar, I'm going to do that on Tuesday, now you have a 40% chance of completing that action. But then if you design a plan, meaning what's the first step to the first step? If your plan is, I'm going to make a follow-up phone call, well, the first step to the first step is, do you have the phone number? Right? You've got the appointment on your calendar, but God forbid you're scared to make that follow-up call. And God forbid you have to take 10 seconds to find that phone number. And then you're like, oh, forget it. See, I'm not organized, blah, 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 blah. All that negative self-talk starts. Get rid of it. Go, oh, there it is again. What life area do I need to turn my energy to? Oh, goals and organization. I need to find that number. But if you preload that with a plan to how you're going to take the action by asking what's the first step to the first step, you're going to take action. And now you've got a 50% chance of completing, from 10 to 50%. If you had a 50% chance of winning the lottery, wouldn't you invest a lot more than if you only had a 10% chance? Right? Of course you would. We can win the more we do these things. The next one is to commit to another person. Kathrine, I'm going to do this. My partner in Juice Plus, I'm going to do this. My mentor, I'm going to do this. My coach, I'm going to do this. My friend, my husband, my spouse, my kids, I am going to do this. I am the person that follows through on my actions. I am going to do it. So I'm brave enough to tell somebody else, because positive peer pressure is a good thing. So now you've got a 65% chance of completing the action. Then if you make a specific appointment to tell that person how it went, it goes to 95%. The person you told, you say, and then I'm going to follow up with you. And I'm going to tell you how it went. It doesn't matter if it went bad or good, that the outcome is not in your control most of the time. But I'm going to tell you that I did it. That's the key. That's the key. So what is one thing, when you look at your list of things, is there something that you are in a place that you're like, if I change, I can actually accomplish that? If I'll move out of denial or yeah, but, and start to prepare to take that action, what is one thing? I mean, I'm going to use something simple like the delayed Alaskan cruise. I don't know what got in their way, but it could be that they haven't saved money. It could be that they haven't calendared and scheduled and protected the time. Well, then they've got an action plan. I'm going to start saving X number of dollars, but the first step is to open up the Alaskan savings account. That's what it looks like. So for you, what is one thing you want to change? What stage are you in? And how can you move to the next phase? It's just one stage at a time. And often you're going to do the stages of change cha-cha-cha. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And then before you know it, you're like, wow, 3 steps forward, no step back. 5 steps forward, 1 step back. 10 steps forward, no step back. 20 steps forward, 5 steps back. It happens, but it's the dance of growth. That's the dance of growth, is you keep engaging in the steps. So that's stages of change, and it's super important. The next page, circle of concern versus circle of control. You guys, this is so important. This is one thing that distinguishes in the way that I teach goals that I haven't seen other people do, and that is most of us set a goal that's actually an intention, and I'm going to give you my definitions of the two. A goal is something you're 100% of control of. A goal is something I'm 100% in control of it happening. Yes, you can maybe get sick or something like that. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about I can choose to go outside and take 3 steps. I can't change the number on the scale. Most people would say I have a goal to lose 10 pounds. No, that's an intention. But you can set goals that make it more likely that that scale will shift by 10 pounds. And most of you know what those activities are. It's our reset. It's the steps of our reset that make it more likely, but you're in control of those things. And so what happens, I've seen this over and over, an intention is something that takes someone else's decision for it to come to fruition. An intention is it takes someone else's decision for it to come to fruition. And in that example of the 10 pounds on the scale, no, it's not a person, but its physiology is a person. The way your physiology works and all the influences with hormones and environmental stuff and psychological emotions trapped connected to the fat. All those things, right, are something you can't control, but you can control the reset, those things that you're doing. And if you don't know what the reset is, ask the person who invited you to the call. It's just a cool community-based wellness move that we can make together. So what I see people do all the time is, I want 10 customers this month. That's my goal. No, that's an intention, because that takes somebody else's decision to come to fruition. Somebody has to say yes to Juice Plus. If that's your customer base, you may work in a different industry, but somebody has to say yes. So now it's an intention. Intentions are powerful. When we set an intention, our brain starts to create a pathway to get to it. And if we will consciously create the pathway, it happens even faster. But I want you to write intentions all day long. But then ask yourself, does this take somebody else's decision to come to fruition? Does it take a biological impact? Like, is it environmental? Is it bigger than myself? And you can look at the circle of control and circle of concern. Yes, there's things that we can control ourselves. I'm not going to get into all of the details, but you can read the sheet, our attitude, our actions, those things. Some control our circle of influence. We can control some things, and others we have no control. Now, I get that there's a world where I mean, because I work in it daily in trauma, that fight or flight has taken over and we're not in control. But you can control when you're not in fight or flight, building your reservoir and your relationships so that people are there for you and your brain has a pathway, that's the reservoir, to follow when that happens. And the more you do that and you practice when you're not in fight and flight, the more you will have it accessed when you get in that place. It'll come quicker because you're building new neural pathways when you're not in that. That's a whole nother topic. But so I want you to be clear. What's the difference between a goal and intention? A goal, I'm 100% in control of it happening. An intention is something else. It takes someone else's decision for it to come to fruition, or a set of circumstances to come together for it to come to fruition. But what part, this is where our power lies, frontal lobe. What part can I choose? What part can I do? That's control. And for me, so often it's prayer. So often I can have some influence, I can have, but things are out of my control, other people's decisions, but I can pray. I can love, I can listen, and sometimes I can draw boundaries so that I have enough energy to care again, to come in again, to step in again. So just pay attention to that as you start to do this work. So now I'm going to go through these final pages, just an explanation, and you guys can begin to work on them on your own. But these final pages are so powerful because we're going to bring these things together. So the first thing is, this says micro goals that lead to macro goal achievement. Okay. So micro goals. So in that I want 10 customers, a micro goal would be I'm going to invite 10 people to an event. You're in control of the invitation. Whether or not somebody comes, that's the intention of how many people my intention is 100 people will show up. I actually, one of my first events I ever did, I had the intention 100 people will show up. My micro goal was to call one person a day for the time leading up to it. And then I got behind because I procrastinated because I was scared. So then it got to be 10 people a day. And I did 4 people showed up in that room. And one of them just passed away, Florence Klein. This is for her legacy. She was one of the 4 people in the room that was a steady cheerleader, and 3 top of our company people were the people that were left. But did I feel like a failure that day? Yes. Why? Because I was caught up in the intention that 100 people would show up. Instead of celebrating that I made all the calls, that I invited everyone. And I had a mentor, Carol Renoa, who set me straight when it was done and said, now you call the other 96 that didn't show up and tell them how great the event was and tell them you'd like to meet one-on-one. I never got to the 100 because I was busy with the micro goal. I had a macro goal of getting to all 96, and I couldn't control whether or not they said yes, but I could control asking if they would meet with me. And then I got busy with the 10 or 12 that said yes. And I never got to the other 96. To this day, I never got to the 96 because I got busy with the ones that did say yes and with helping them with their businesses. But I could have quit. And I wouldn't have the income. And way better than that, I wouldn't have the people, the relationships that I have with the people that did show up, just like you guys showed up today. So what is that macro goal? What is the bigger goal? And then ask yourself that question. What's the first step to the first step? That will have you figure out your micro goal. What's the smallest thing that you can do? The smallest, think it to where it's ridiculous. You're almost embarrassed to write it down. Like, put on my shoes. I started doing a rebounder because of that lymphatic system thing. And I bought a swim spa because of that lymphatic system thing. And the rebounder was, like, I can't get on it. What if it falls over, right? Fear came in, like, what if I tip over? What if my leg goes through it? All these fear things showed up, and I was like, just put on your shoes. That's the first step to the first step. Just stand on the rebounder. It's a little trampoline if you don't know what that is. Just stand on the rebounder. Don't even jump. Okay, just do this. Don't jump. You don't have to lift your feet up off the ground. Now I'm like the rebounder queen, right? Although I don't do all the kicks and things that other people do, but I love rebounding. But it started with the macro goal. The intention was I wanted to heal and continue to heal my body so it could get back to its perfect place of homeostasis for this season of my life. But then it had to be, I'm going to get on the rebounder 3 days a week. But then that didn't do it. I started failing. I was like, what's wrong? Oh, I'm scared. I'm giving into fear. So what's the first step to the first step? Put on the shoes, stand on the rebounder, barely bounce, get your courage. So what is that for you? So that's the first thing that you're going to do. And then those things will begin to happen. You'll start to build a reservoir, or you'll fail, quote unquote. No, you won't. You'll get taught. You'll learn. You'll set yourself up for a comeback by going, what went wrong? What would I do differently? And who can help me? So when we write goals, most of you have heard of SMART goals. Okay. And for time's sake, I'm not going to get into the details of it, but SMART goals just mean that they're specific, that they're measurable. Who can remember the A? Type it in the chat. I want to see who I have on the line here that knows SMART goals. So specific means your brain, it's not like I want to have be debt free. That's one I hear a lot. I want to be debt free. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah, attainable, achievable. It's so attainable, achievable is the A, but the S is specific. And this is what I like to tell people. It's that concrete part of this. So a concept is like, oh, I want to have financial freedom. Concrete is I have $100,000 in the bank. For me, at one point, it was financial freedom meant I could pay my bills and not be stressed. That was financial freedom. Okay. Concept makes you feel good. I have financial freedom, but the brain can't follow that. The heart loves it, but the brain can't follow it. The brain follows concrete, which is that specific part. And this is the question to ask. What does it look like, sound like, feel like? You've heard me say that. What does it look like, sound like, feel like to be financially free? What does it look like, sound like, feel like to be healthy? Because that's different for me than it is for you. That's different for me at 55 than it was at 25. So what does it look like, sound like, feel like? If your friend can't see a picture of what that is for you to be healthy, they just see their picture, then it's not specific enough. So specific, measurable, which means there's something tangible that you can celebrate. Attainable, it's realistic, meaning, and that's the R, it's realistic. Like you're not saying I'm going to play professional basketball in a men's league and I'm 55 and a woman and only played varsity basketball in high school, right? That is true. And I was great, but I'm never going to be on a men's pro basketball team. So be realistic, and then time bound or time sensitive, meaning by this time. Okay. But you have to break it from concept. That's the other thing I see people do. They have these wonderful concepts. Even I saw some people say the top of our company. So again, if you're a guest, these acronyms aren't going to mean anything to you, but I want to be an NMD, which is one of the top positions in our company where you have benefits and all this stuff. But that's a concept, but what's concrete to you? What would it look like, sound like, feel like for you to be an NMD? Who are you and who's with you? Write that out. Write that out. The more specific, now the brain can go after it. Okay, and then look at your goals as you write those micro and macro goals. This is your check sheet. You look back at them and refine them. Remember, we're not procrastinators, we're refiners. You're going to look back and say, is this written in the positive? So debt free, I'm going to give you guys a little test real quick. Everybody close your eyes. Don't think of a pink elephant. what comes in our mind? A pink elephant. The brain doesn't see the knot. And so if you're saying debt free, the negative, you're saying that negative side, I don't want to do this anymore. That's what the brain sees is debt. So instead you write I'm financially free. That's the concept. And you write I have $100,000 in the bank and all my bills are paid. That would be concrete because you can make a plan around that. You can start saving $1 a day. You can start not spending because so many goals are more about what we're cutting out of our life, not doing more. It's making more room for what is good and noteworthy and going to build to that place. So go back and refine your goals. Are they in the positive? And then finally, say them in the present. I am someone whose bills are paid and has $100,000 in the bank. Speak it as if it already is. That's taking your territory. Speak it in the present as if it already is. That's what present means. So again, we're going to define and refine even more on the next page that says that, part 2, define and refine. So as your goals are there, you just, again, ask yourself, what is my goal? And what outcome is in your control? If it's not in your control, it's an intention, not a goal. You want both. Both are good. But don't put pressure on yourself and then say you failed when it was an intention. It took somebody else's decisions or circumstances to come to fruition. Instead, refine your goal. What else can I do? What is in my control? I'm going to take that step. And then go through, is my goal smart? And that's specific, right? Is my goal concrete or is it a concept? It's okay if it's a concept, but then take the concepts and make it concrete. And the more concrete you can make it, the more there's a picture and you can schedule it and protect it and tell somebody you're doing it and then follow up and say, I did it, the more likelihood of success you're going to have. And then are they written in the positive? And are they in the presence? Are they in the present? So I'm someone who rebounds 3 times a week. I am that person. Even if you're not doing it yet, say it. Your brain will follow it. Okay. And then this next sheet is if it's a new habit, it's something, that goal that you have is something that you're going to do daily. So it's a habit, meaning I'm going to take my Juice Plus every day. I'm going to walk every day. I don't know what habit is going to get you to your macro goal, but look at what if I did something daily or weekly and that's new that I'm scheduling in my calendar, tie it to an anchor habit. Meaning, what are you already doing? Are you brushing your teeth every day? Then put your Juice Plus next to your toothbrush. Do you get out of bed every morning? Then do 5 jumping jacks when you get out of bed. That's an example of an anchor habit. Your anchor habit's one you're already doing. You don't even think about it. That's how you know it's automatic. And then you tie your new habit to it. So for me, it was drinking water. Every morning I put on worship music. That's just the way I love to fill up my heart, mind, soul, brain. And I bring all the people I love and all my concerns right to God through that worship music. Well, I tied my worship music into doing my Luminate because I don't drink caffeine. So I didn't have that yummy coffee habit that so many of you do. Some of you want that to be out and you want to refine or reset that. But the Luminate is fantastic. It works with my biology and brain. But I was forgetting to do it. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. So I used the life area of balance and fulfillment and made a pretty stand for it in glass jars where I could just pull the little sticks out. It's super cute on my counter. So that anchored it to a life area, but then I anchored it to an anchor habit of that worship music. Worship music means illuminate, which is kind of cool. It's just hitting me right now, right? That's kind of a cool, I didn't even think of illuminating my heart, mind, body, soul, spirit, and all of my prayers within that anchor habit. So how fun. See what talking about our dreams and goals will do? You'll refine and define even more. So then I gave you this. This is called Whoop. It's the most scientifically proven. I've already taught you the concepts of it, but the word Whoop, everybody go whoop, right? It's fun. I love that. Whoop. That's such a fun word and we'll remember it. And whoop just means you look at your wish. So again, the desires of your heart. You look at your outcome. Why do you want that? What's the outcome that you're going to get? By having that wish and doing something about it, what's your outcome going to be? And then you identify the obstacles. So the wish is W, outcome, obstacle, because it's going to come up. All of you are going to face obstacle after obstacle. It's just what brings you strength. Without strain, just like when you're lifting a weight, without strain, there's no strength. Without obstacles, there's no success, period. So what is the obstacle that shows up? And then what's your plan? If this comes up, P, here's my plan. If, when. If it comes up that I'm scared of my rebounder because it's a new habit, because by the way, the rebounder comes after the luminate. So I anchored those habits together. It's a cord of 3 strands that makes me stronger. So in that, if that fear comes up, I'm just going to stand on it for a minute. And then before you know it, right, I started bouncing. You can do that too. So it's just a great way to, again, refine and define even more this concept with a fun sound, because sounds mean everything to the brain. I love neuroscience. My whole course is based on neuroscience. So everybody again go whoop, right? When you learn, and then when you do and accomplish a goal, you make that phone call, you do that rebounder. If you go whoop, whoop, right? I did it. I overcame the obstacle. Your brain goes boom, dopamine hit. It rewards you, and then you want to do it again. It's beautiful the way we are designed. And then this final sheet is about refining it even further. So the first one is priorities. The next time you say no, say it's not a priority and see how it feels. I believe in priority planning before I time block and before I put goals and intentions into my calendar. And this is how you figure this out. At the end of my life, what's going to matter to me? What are my priorities? And you plan according to those first. Those priorities get put in your calendar first. So again, for me, it's that time in the morning with God, because it has been the most satisfying, joy-filled life because of it. Not that there aren't hard days, and I am fighting one of the darkest issues on the planet with an incredible team of people, and I love them and grateful they're here with me, and I'm grateful for every one of you that is given to it. But my priority is to fill me up, take care of me first, take care of my family, which is my first ministry, and my Pure Hope Foundation family. And my Juice Plus business it first was my all that. It allowed me to be home with my kids. It was all of it. And now it's my so that. I do it so that I can serve these incredible young women. So what is your priorities? Time block, schedule and protect, put it in your calendar, and don't say, oh, it's my workout and they need my time. No, your workout is so you're strong in your time you give them. My friend Elsa Billman, which at Pure Hope Ranch, we have Elsa's garden in her honor and memory, and the greatest lesson she ever taught me. We have an experiential walkthrough here. And she also taught me this: no. Like it's a complete sentence. No reason, no excuse. You don't have to explain why. You just say no. What we say no to allows us our best yes. So consider adjustments to your routine and put yourself on your calendar, put your self-care on your calendar. And then remember, right before the brain gets into what's called a flow state, and I teach this in my course, I can't get into it all right now, but there is a place that all of our brains, we've all experienced it, where we're in flow and everything's coming easy. Everything's just coming out of us. It is just an unbelievable state of satisfaction and productivity. Right before that, it is measurable in our brains and bodies that we hit the wall of procrastination. So next time it happens, you go, this is normal. I'm in process. And you keep moving past procrastination because you don't need perfection. You just need to take the next step. What's the first step to the first step? And then I love a stop doing list. What are the things that you will stop doing so that you can make room for the things that you really want to say yes to? This helps refine your priority planning. Okay, and then I have just a couple of resources for you. One is Write a letter of accomplishment to your future self. So if you guys are together in a group, or as soon as we're done, I know you only set aside and we're actually over time. I apologize. I majorly want to honor time, but I got into flow. So I hope that this is a bonus for you. But this letter to yourself, you literally write a letter and the instructions are there where you're seeing your future self and you hear what they have to say to you. It is one of the most profound, powerful exercises you will ever do. Just set 10 minutes aside. I hope this is your first step to your first step of any goal you wrote. If nothing else, do this and watch what happens with the rest. And then I just gave you a habit tracker because filling in those bubbles is real fun, you guys. And if you fill it out 2 days and not the third, just don't go 4 days, right? They always say no more than 2 days if you're doing a daily habit. But this is just another way to get dopamine hits in your brain. Use it or not, I just wanted to gift it to you. And then finally, we're going to close with one of my favorite breathing exercise. Everything in the Ultimate Source, we closed all 12 life areas with breathing and biochemical physiological shifts, biohacks. So this is one of them. It's called the psychological sigh. So if you're at a place where you can stand up, stand up. If you're not, that's okay. I'm not going to stand up because otherwise you'll look at my belly instead of my face. But this is so fun and so powerful. You guys, it's so simple. So first of all, I'm going to walk you through it and then we'll do it and we'll close. The first thing is blow out before you breathe in. My friend Carrie Radnoff said, I can't believe how often people can't get the first breath in, and it's because they didn't get a good breath out. So that's okay. Before we start, you're going to do that. And then you're going to take one deep breath, inhaling through your nose. And right when you think you've inhaled all you can, do a sniff, an extra additional sniff. And then you do a long exhale as long as you can through your mouth. So we practiced the process of this earlier, but with this one, the difference is instead of holding, we're going to do that extra sniff, and then we're going to breathe out. And then if you want, it's called bilateral stimulation. You snap with your left and your right, or your right and your left, whichever one you want to do. And then you clap. Okay. Sounds silly, but this will reset your brain over and over, and it will give you the extra oxygen and energy you need, especially when you're procrastinating or you're feeling overwhelmed. It resets your body. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do the psychological sigh. Everybody breathe out. Breathe in through your nose. Extra sniff. Snap, snap. We'll do it one more time. Snap, snap, clap. Okay, now you have one of the most powerful breathing exercises in your back pocket that you can have. So Juliana, I apologize, you guys. I know your time is so valuable. Thank you. I never even looked at my clock. I usually check it all the time, but I was so engaged that I hope that you will forgive me for staying in flow with you. So thank you for showing up, you guys. Take this with you, share it with your friends and family. I'm so excited that I could invest in you today, and I can't wait to hear of your stories of the fruit this will produce as you put it into practice.
Wow, Kathrine, thank you so much. If you were touched by this information today, please know that this was just a small piece from 2 of the 12 life areas from the Ultimate Source 2.0, a course that you can take a thorough look at the 12 life areas to bring transformation to your world. This course is usually $299. However, Kathrine has offered to extend the pilot pricing to all of us through January 31st for only $99. This will give you complete access to all 12 life areas and all of the worksheets for each session of the course. You can also order Kathrine's phenomenal book, Interrupted, off of Amazon or wherever you buy your books. It is so good that I have given many copies as gifts. You can also bless Kathrine's work and efforts to restore human sex traffickers, the survivors, and end sex trafficking with the Pure Hope Foundation by going to purehopefoundation.com and donating to this valiant cause. I also want to share that over 300 people or more have been blessed today because of 30 Seconds of Brave. My aim is not to boast about myself, but just to highlight that because I risked being told no by someone that I admire, numerous people were touched positively to start off this year with new tools, all because I mustered up courage to reach out to Kathrine and ask if she would speak on a Zoom to all of us about this timely topic. So let's aim to flex our brave muscle this year so that we can bless loads of new people with our message, our timely and timeless message of health and hope with the Juice Plus Company. Thank you so much, Kathrine, for your willingness to teach all of us today. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, you guys. First of all, Juliana is who you thank, because if she wouldn't have asked, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have known to do it. And Carrie Daigle and Mickey for hosting. I see in the chat, where do I get the course? If you go where you got the workbook, you can click right there. It shows you the coupon code to bring the price down and everything. So right where you got your handouts is where you can register, and it's a do it at your own pace. You can buy it now at that price and do it in summer with your team, with your family, or you can do it at your own pace. You can do one life area a month or one life area a week. However you want to do it, it is all there for you. So I'm honored and excited. Again, where you got your worksheets is where you could do it. And as you bless me, it allows me to continue the work that I do, not only in your own lives, but in the young women's lives. Oh, thank you, Joyful River. Look at you putting that in the chat. You can click on the chat. And yeah, you can buy multiples, but if you want, thank you, Dawn. If you want to buy this course for other people, I would just recommend have them go on and then Venmo them. We did have a gift certificate for Christmas time, but I don't know enough about that. So you can get them the $99 price, but have them register under their email and then maybe just reimburse them for now. And I'll try to put out a link to a gift certificate if you officially want to do that, but that would be the fastest way. So thank you for asking those questions, you guys.
Okay, well, Carrie, you're welcome to stop the recording.